I am Gabriela,
And I'm Elie.
and to this day in 2024, we've been married for 25 happy years.
We are the proud parents of two teenagers, one young adult, and a golden retriever.
In my 14 years as a coach and teacher, I found myself teaching couples the principles of how to do marriage, and more so, sharing examples from our own relationship.
After people have repeatedly commented on the kind of bond we share as a couple and a family, we felt the calling to share our journey on how to stay happily married.
And this is how this podcast was born. We feel called to share this simple yet powerful message. As partners, we can have flourishing relationships and we can grow together while also staying true to ourselves. By sharing some of our stories and experiences, we hope to inspire couples to believe that it's possible to create relationships that grow stronger and juicier with time.
We decided to have an objective person involved, someone who can introduce diverse opinions to enrich the conversation. With that in mind, we welcome Sherry Reinhardt, herself a podcaster, to hang out with us. Sherry will challenge us to explore different angles, and between the three of us, we hope to offer our listeners valuable takeaways for improving their own relationships.
This is our journey on how to stay happily married. We invite you to like or follow us and please engage with us by commenting below. Hi, Shari.
Hi, Gabby and Ellie. How are you guys?
Very good, Sherry. It's
We're,
good to see you.
it's so good to see you. We're so happy to be playing together.
Ah,
You know that we celebrated our 25-year anniversary last September.
okay.
That's a big milestone.
And what did you do to celebrate, you two? How did you have a good time with each other?
We actually had a very nice time. We celebrated as a family. We took our three children and our eldest daughter, boyfriend. The six of us, we went on a nice road trip to Quebec City. We stayed there over the weekend, celebrated, ate, traveled in
We
the
saw the
area.
stars.
Yeah, we
Oh,
did.
We stargazed, actually.
oh. So, 25 years is no small thing. And it makes me wonder, like, it sounds like you had a good time celebrating, so guys both like each other. So, how do you know when a relationship or your relationship is great? Like, are there signs? Talk to me about that.
Do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay.
That's one
This is
sign.
how you know. um, well, first of all, I'll tell you that not long ago I met somebody for a coffee to network with this person, and I just found myself saying to that person that my most favorite person is my husband.
Mm.
And I realized how privileged I am to be saying that. But I used to say something else. I used to believe that one sign that uh, can show if your relationship is fulfilling is what's your first reaction when somebody asks you about your husband or you hear his name? And your first reaction is usually visual, right? Especially if you're expressive in your face. And I realized that every time I would hear your name or somebody will ask me about you, my first unconscious reaction was to smile. But I also seen people that their first unconscious, it's totally unconscious reaction is like, and that never happened to me. I have to say, it's nothing I did on purpose, obviously. So
Is
for
that
me, that's a good sign.
like I wonder if Ellie is listening to this and going, "Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that." Or did you? Do you talk about these kind of things amongst each other?
No, I don't remember
Yeah.
us talking about this specific angle of it. I do know that I'm naturally not a big smiler. I don't spread a lot of smiles to the world. So the same instance where I'm being asked or mentioned, here my wife mentioned, is not a smile, but a sense of pride. Say, okay, I'm so proud of my wife. I can't wait to tell you about her. and how lucky I feel that she is with me. That's my gut feeling. It's not a smile.
That's beautiful. I'm wondering if there's, because it feels so rare to hear a couple say such like these kinds of things about each other, especially after 25 years, because there's a lot of living that goes in
Oh,
there.
wait, I have so much to say about that.
Okay, yeah, go.
Two
Talk.
things I have to say about that. Two things. One is to Ellie. It's interesting you said that you are not a big smiler because, if that's a word, because one of the things that attracted me the most about you, and the first visual that attracted me was your smile. And I think I've shared that with you many times.
You did.
So just to let you know, right? So that's one thing. Um, the other thing, I don't remember what it was you asked. Oh yeah, you said after 25 years.
Yes.
I,
There's
I
so much
think
life that goes on in
I
those.
think especially after 25 years, because the longer we are together, right? The deeper the relationship goes, the more intimate the relationship is, the more we know each other. So
So the question then becomes, how did you guys figure that out when so many couples struggle with getting to that point at 25 years of pure celebration and joy and gratitude for having each other? You know what I'm saying? Like, is there a recipe to make that happen? Do you have a secret you can share with people who are wondering how that's done?
I'll tell you what the secret is. I'm gonna tell you what answer Ellie would probably answer to that. If I tell you my secret, I'll have to kill you. Wouldn't you answer that?
Probably no, but that's kind type of joke I would say. So knowing my sense of humor is a good sign of a relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, knowing your sense of humor is a good side of the relationship because then you can't take it personally, right? If there's,
We have, first of all, one of the things that also attracted me is his sense of humor. I think we both have a sense of humor, and you have a very particular sense of humor that I absolutely love.
We're also very playful, so we like. There's always an element of play in our communication, and it's daily, right? It kind of adds a layer of spice into every conversation or interaction we have. I'm not saying that every conversation is fireworks, but we like either to end it with some sort of humoristic approach, or spread it a little bit here and there. We do it quite often.
That's true.
Yeah.
But okay, let's be more serious now. We are very playful. It's our nature, actually. Yeah, and I think that I was always playful, but for the first time in our relationship, I allow myself to fully be. I fully embrace that side of me. While before that, perhaps I didn't so much. But it's also, if we look at, you ask, if we have a secret. It's not a rocket science. First of all, is the mutual respect, right? And that we have for each other, no matter what, no matter how angry or upset we are or difficult times we're going through, that of course, like any couple, we have gone through. So that's one. But the other one is the level of communication. And, I'm big on words, right? And we communicate. I just listened to somebody say that when we don't communicate or express our emotions or process our emotions, it's like being constipated. Yeah.
You have to go.
very well
You
said.
just have to do it.
So
Yeah.
I can't hold on to that for a long time. So we communicate, we speak, and people view arguments as something you want to avoid, and not that we look for arguments, by no means not, but when we do have disputes and arguments, and we go through that gracefully, it invites to remove another layer that is masking who we truly are. We are exposing ourselves, and we are coming out, we are showing who we truly are, we're showing what we care, we're showing what triggered us, and that leads to more intimacy. Because in the beginning, there are a lot of layers among us, right? We're kind of playing a role. But as the relationship moves forward and you start encountering situations, you have two options. You either discuss them and explain yourself and try to understand the other one, or you just ignore it and battle up and continue. And that creates a crack. That starts creating more layers, and the more layers we have, the less ourselves we are, and then we obviously grow apart. For us, it was always about, okay, we need to talk about this, we need to discuss this, we need to explain each other in a respectful way, in a graceful way. And that process removed another layer. And the more layers you remove, the more intimate we can be with each other, the more we know each other. And that allows for also falling in love more, because you are actually discovering who that person in front of you is. Does it make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, but it does, and it does raise a question that is burning. Like as you're speaking, this question needs to come out, which is, how do two people learn or manage to get on the same page with that process? Because it's not an easy process for many of us to, remove those layers and to have that level of intimate, vulnerable conversation, even in a marriage, even amongst two people who really love each other. So I'm just wondering, how did you guys learn how to do that and do it well, so that you reach this point of great intimacy and connection and respectful communication?
I think there's a foundation, a very strong foundation of a few principles that either we had within us naturally or we kind of very quickly adopted. So, there is a line in a famous song that we like very much, that we do the opposite. People talk without speaking. The sound of silence, right? You love that song.
Yeah.
We always make sure that there is space for each other to voice their opinions or point of view, and we always have, even at a technical level, how we actually speak, we naturally stop after expressing an idea or an opinion or
How we
or
feel.
a set of sentences. So, okay, does it make sense to you? Just do this realignment. Do you understand me? Does it make sense? Are you completely opposed to what you just heard? Or is there some sort of truth to what I'm describing? And we don't always see eye to eye, but we always find enough of commonalities in our communications to make sure that we're not completely drifting apart from each other in our communication. So making space to each other, doing these sanity checks every few seconds or minutes to make sure that the conversation is aligned and still productive.
That's true. And I think we do something else. When we want to talk to each other, let's say one is having these strong emotions and needs to discuss it.
I know what you're going to say.
Okay, go ahead. I'll tell you if you were right.
Okay, so we make sure that the other is in a receiving position, right? So if I want to talk to Gabi of something that I know is contentious, I would say, usually it's the opposite. She would say, I want to talk to you about XYZ. Is now a good time?
We actually taught our kids to do that too.
Yes.
Because they will just come, you are in the middle of work, they will come and just, dump on you, and you go, why aren't you reacting? I'm like, what, right? So we taught them that if I want to be able to listen to you, you want to make sure you talk when you ask. it's not do I have permission to talk? It's not about permission, but in a way, it's respecting people's space, right? Is this a good time? I need to talk. Can we talk? And we do that. We don't just come, and I don't care if you're watching your favorite movie and I don't like that movie. I will just say what I have to say. No, even, if I find that whatever you're doing is unimportant for me, I will still say, can I interrupt for a minute? This is a good time. And if not, when can we talk? So that's one thing that we do.
It's fantastic.
But there's,
Is it to us? It sounds
I
natural.
know. It's so natural, right? But I don't know if it was that natural for you, let's say 20 years ago. I would think it's developed over time that now it's so natural you don't even have to think about the steps to take to have a good conversation at the right time for the outcomes that you're looking for. That's a skill that you learned in your marriage.
we will learn when, especially me, I will come because I'm more, emotional and bubbly, and I will come and I talk to him, and then I will say, why does it look like you're not listening to me? And he would say, it's not that I wasn't going to listen to you, it's just that I was in the middle and I didn't see that coming, so I didn't have time to react. So because of that, we'll learn to do that, right? We learn to make sure that this is the right time. And we do that with the most, I would say, not stupid things, but let's say he's going mundane things. Let's say he's going to the supermarket and I'm going to ask him to buy certain things, or I'm going to ask him, I'm leaving the house and I'm going to ask him to put the laundry, and at the same time, I don't know, turn on the washing machine. I will say to him, I need to tell you something. Can you be with me for a minute? And we laugh and we say, are you with me? I do like this, right? And then I tell him, and I only talk to him when I know I have his full attention, because while I can multitask and hear and not forget, I know
I'm more limited.
So we learn, rather than being upset at that, is like, okay, I understand that if I want to ask you to do 3 things, right? And if I say one, if I say the 3, you'll remember one, unless I say, are you with me, right? So there are plenty of stand-up comedies around that, but it actually works. But
So you just showed me something, and
Okay.
maybe you're showing the listener something as well, since I'm also listening for the first time and hearing this conversation, is we talked about, Elie mentioned respectful communication. I think those were the 2, I don't know if those were the 2 words he put together, but after this whole scenario that you just drew, it's like, we talk about couples have to communicate, but you just showed us how that can be done and improved on. Like, you just showed us how we have to call each other in before we can even have that conversation.
that's right.
It's an observation that I thought was worth highlighting.
Yeah, it's from the understanding and the respect that our brains work differently and we have different strengths. And if we just learn to work with each other, then it can work. But there's a thought that stay pending in my head when you ask, but that's not how you always communicated, you learned. And I think in the beginning, the way we communicated was more about expressing to the other one how I feel. So I actually have a memory of us being maybe a year or 2 married. I know we didn't have kids yet. And we went up north to a chalet for a mini vacation. And I felt that you were frustrated. And
Was?
yes, that's what I felt. And I remember clearly, because I have this memory, that you were lying down in the bed and I said to you, I need to talk to you, because I thought this was going to destroy the vacation. I said, I want to tell you that I feel that I'm walking on eggshells not to upset you, but you look angry and I don't know what's going on. So, and then you said, oh, I didn't realize that I can do that. So that was, I remember you shifted from me just saying, but if we go for a moment with that memory, that was me asking you to become aware of your behavior and perhaps asking you to change. I think in the beginning of our relationship was more of that. And as we evolved and we went through our own personal development, we started to learn that what upsets me in you is the trigger I need to work on myself. So then it became less telling each other, hey, you need to change. It was more about, why am I being triggered about this? I need to work on myself. That was the second level of the, communicating or relating to each other.
Relating
And
to each
that's
other.
so annoying. It's really annoying. When you turn the question, right? When I see somebody behave in a way that is annoying to me or I find unacceptable, to have the consciousness to say, okay, whatever I see is a reflection of what is going on with me. And that honesty with yourself is very painful.
That's the work.
Yeah.
That's the self work that helps make a marriage reach 25 years and be a happy marriage.
And
But it goes beyond marriage, right? It goes into work relationships,
Yes.
right? With every human interaction. If you see something that doesn't connect with yourself,
that
you
you're
need
right.
to ask, okay,
Yeah.
why?
What is
What's
it
in
in
me
me?
that makes me be annoyed with this?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the work, Shari, and you said it so well. That's the work. And I wouldn't say from the beginning we were committed to do that work because we were not aware, to be completely honest. But at a certain point, it became very clear that if we don't do our personal work, then the relationship cannot reach the next level of greatness, if you might call it.
Yeah.
So that's also when you say what's the secret, you can have all, first of all, love is the first ingredient, and of course the respect and the willingness to do the work and to work on the relationship, to invest in the relationship. But part of that investment means that you invest in yourself and you work on yourself and you realize that for the most part, it's not so much about us, it's about each one of us individually and what we need to resolve within ourselves.
At some point, you guys were talking about, we were talking about this, and Ellie was saying something, and I had this vision of being like on a big autoroute with like 4 lanes, and you're both going in the same direction at different paces, 2 cars side by side, one's a little ahead, and then all of a sudden someone makes a sharp turn, and suddenly your marriage is all messed up because someone isn't taking that path with you, going with you. One partner decided, this, I can't do this, it's too hard, I don't want to do this, and takes an exit point. And I feel like marriages year after year and relationships are kind of like that. And I feel like in some ways what your experience that you just shared just made me feel like you're on the same road. You may not be keeping the same pace all the time.
That's a beautiful analogy. Yeah.
Well, it came to me through your conversation. So
I think a couple can still make those, I would say impressive turns and go into a completely different direction. But it takes prep work and communication, right? Let me kind of build on your analogy. Let's say a couple, everybody works in their job, and one of the couple would say, okay, I want to stop working and go open a business or go back to school or go find myself spiritually on a beach in Costa Rica.
I
Right?
didn't say that.
I'm just giving.
It would have been nice.
So that type of swerve, requires preparation, right? You have to slow down. You have to make sure that you're financially sound. It requires prep work and communication before the couple can make safely that, negotiate that turn together.
That's so
If
true.
only one does that, makes the decision, then yes, one goes straight, one goes right, and they never meet again.
So true. So it's not like you all have I love that because one partner may have a burning dream that affects the other partner. So I love the way you just described that.
Yeah, and we've done that. I did a career change, a complete turn. And but it was discussed, right?
Yeah.
It was fully discussed and planned, and
It had milestones and it had checkpoints to see where we are.
and it was, there was support, not that you
Yeah.
believe in what I was going to do from the beginning, but you supported me. And that's also important, right? I don't think you believe in what I was going to do. You kind of thought it would be more like a hobby, but you supported me. And that was enough for me to, okay, to move forward with that. And eventually, of course, your belief in this work, in the work that I do, was built. So, yeah, the, you
Yeah.
know, the coordination, the communication, making sure everybody's in the same page, because otherwise, right? Ellie mentioned that we had checkpoints and we had expectations. We knew there was an expectation that our income was going to go down when I did a career change to eventually, you know, grow from there. But that expectation was there, so we knew. So there was no, oh, come on, you're not making any money, when are you going to start making money? No, no. Planning in advance and knowing what was expected, we avoided those frustrations of, I don't know what you're doing, but you should be making money. No, we knew exactly where we are,
Right.
right?
Right. There were no surprises in terms of what the expectations were, what the hardship might be, and also the potential and possibility for something better in your whole marriage. Obviously, with your career change, but possibly, I would imagine, with that support, there's an expectation that it's good for the marriage as a whole, too, or the family environment.
That's right. We knew what we were signing up for when I did the career change. We knew that there was going to be a period where it was going to be more difficult and he was going to be the main provider. So if you know, right? It's like when you know you're going to go to, you want to release weight and you know you're not going to have dessert. And when you go out and your friends have dessert and you don't complain because you knew it was coming, right? You expected it. So we work that way.
So then I wonder, um, if you were to offer advice to a couple asking such questions, like how do you have a great marriage at 25? We're going to use your milestone of 25 years as the marker for this conversation. What kind of advice would you give a younger couple starting out and trying to figure out the longevity of their marriage and the joy and harmony in their marriage?
I would start even before going into the marriage, make sure that the couple communicate before going into this lifelong relationship to make sure that the values that are aligned between the two. So whatever, spiritual values, family values, long time goals, all of these things need to be communicated in the same level of seriousness, even going into this marriage. Once these bases are covered, you make sure, okay, I want these things in my life, and the other one seems to be okay, right? It's not like I don't want children, and the other one wants to have 12 children, right? This thing needs to be discussed and be close enough so that the communication could bridge whatever natural chasm kind of appear later in life. So that would be my first advice, right? Start the journey of communicating before, not when you are 7 years into the marriage. Obviously, if you haven't done it before, okay, it's never too late. But that would be my first tip. What would be yours?
I would say for sure marry for the right reasons. And for me, the right reasons is love. Don't marry to run away from home. Don't marry because you are in a, the time is clicking, your clock is clicking. So that's one thing. Don't compromise. And I think that that's easy to spot because the red flags are always seen before marriage. Okay, I won't say always, but for the most are seen. So be alert to those red flags, okay? So that's one thing. But once you marry for the right reasons, like because you are in love, because you see yourself aging with that person, I think is be ready and committed to invest in the relationship. Don't think that the moment you get married, there's nothing else to be done. It's like opening a business. You launch your business, that's just the beginning. You are always working on the business. And if you're not growing the business, you basically are going backwards, right? If you are not changing the way you do things, you are staying behind. And I think the art of doing marriage, part of that is learning to invest, learning the love language of your partner, how to communicate properly, how to coordinate, to work on yourself. I truly believe your partner should be your best friend, right? Your confidant. But that requires that you learn the other person that through communication. So it's beyond making space and time for each other. It's really wanting to discover the person. And as I always said, never stop doing a PhD on your partner. Right? We went out maybe 2-3 months ago, remember, to Natalino, and he told me a story of from before we met. And I said, how come you never shared that with me? I'm learning something new about you.
What story is that? I don't remember.
Okay, I don't remember the story, but I remember reacting that way. Don't put me on the spotlight here.
Well, I didn't remember. I guess we're getting too old to remember our own words.
The
But-
reaction is important too.
But yeah, it's being prepared to invest and not think that because you got married the work is done. Okay, it's never done. If it's not growing, then it's dying, right? Because change is what fits the relationship. It fits everything. It fits passion. It fits the appreciation for each other. You should be able to appreciate your partner. So yeah, I think teaching people that it's not enough you found the right person. You have to invest in that relationship. You have to work on it.
You say the word change, and it's a reminder to everyone in any interaction or relationship, is that as time goes by, as we get older, as we accumulate more life experience, and as more things happen to us in our lives, good, bad, hard, easy, we are ever changing. So that's just so cool that you mentioned the word change, because I think listeners, it's a good reminder that we're in constant change. It's part of the nature of being human.
That's
So
right.
we have to realize that in ourselves and our partners. So that's I like that too. Yeah.
I would like to add another tip, and that's don't give up. Don't give up. Be committed to the success. Not every disagreement or a little bit of friction is a trigger to break the whole thing, right?
Okay, we'll talk about that in another episode, because
Yes.
I remember a story about that, but let's do that next time.
It's a
Yes.
fantastic point, because it is a good. So hey, segue to the next episode,
There
perhaps.
we go. But go ahead, you finish your point, and then we can elaborate more about that on the next episode.
Yeah. My impression in the current modern world, it's people are very easy to pull the trigger and break the whole thing. Sometimes for very good reasons. Some things cannot be salvaged, but many can be, especially with good communication, with
Good
intention, honesty, and seeing the other person. No, you don't break. It can be. You can have wonderful relationships with those good foundations.
Yeah, we have to remind ourselves of that for sure.
We'll find better ways to talk about this in a future episode.
Will do.
Yeah.
So in this episode, in this conversation that we're having, is there any last thing you would want to add or before we close?
let you close. I just finished my best point.
Ellie's leaving on a high note, everybody. That's it.
There you
Absolutely.
go. We talked a lot about in the beginning we communicate telling the other one what bothers us and what we want the other person to change, and eventually we learn that perhaps there's something in me that I need to resolve in order to stop attracting this situation. All this is to emphasize that don't wait, I can't find the word that I want to say. Don't delegate your happiness.
Don't outsource it.
Don't outsource. Thank you. That was the word. You read my mind. Happens a lot. Don't outsource your happiness to your spouse. Yes, I can't deny that we bring a lot of joy to each other, and we can also bring a lot of lack of joy to each other. I mean, what he didn't tell you about the 25-year anniversary is that the fact that we were the entire family together when our daughter was away is that he, behind my back, coordinated a surprise for her to be home for our anniversary. So he's really good with that stuff. Now, he played humble and didn't share in the beginning, and I didn't want to interfere, but now I found a way to bring it back. So I'm happy about that. He's really good with that.
Beautiful.
So yes, you made me really happy that we were together. That was my dream, that for our anniversary all the kids are home. But at the end of the day, we can't outsource our happiness, and it's our own responsibility to make sure that we feel the best that we can for ourselves, and then of course for the people we live with.
It's fantastic. Important reminders for all of us, even seasoned ones like myself.
So yeah,
Great.
Thank you very much.
thank you, Shari, for playing with us.
Thank you for inviting
We should
me.
do this again. We'll do it again.
We'll do it again.
So,
All right. So we'll wrap here, and we look forward to playing again very soon. Thank you, everyone.
talk to you soon.